be honest, once you showed up with the cat, I wanted to lose it because I wanted to die laughing. I don't know if you saw me. I was like this. I saw it. And I just saw. I was like, "Be professional, Michael. Be professional. Be professional. This is comedic gold." Hello, everyone. This is your boy, Michael Yerby, and we're here in another session of Unfiltered Conversations. We're talking with a true pioneer in the internet, basically with the internet and audio world. And we have him here, the co-founder, co-host of Static Radio, one of the longest running unscripted comedy podcasts on the web today. For over 25 years, Bob has improv and been honest in hilarious conversations on pop culture, Stranger Things, and just the variety of spice of life, and then life in the Midwest and everything in between. It's so awesome to have you here, Bob. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I like
Yeah.
the Stranger Things. I should put that in now because it's so popular. I should just say, yeah, Stranger Things, definitely.
100%. I love Stranger Things. The show is like is I'm glad it ended the way it did. You know, it gave a little mystery at the end, which that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That
Yeah.
was a fun show. Definitely a fun show to watch.
100%. So, you've been doing this for, I'm not trying to age you, but 25 years, right?
I'm only
And
27, so I started when I was 2, and I just barely could talk, and I got on the internet somehow.
Did you imagine you would still be going strong after all this time?
No. Definitely not. It's just one of those weird things, right? So
Yeah.
I was doing, Miles and I were doing college radio,
Yeah.
and at the same time that the internet kind of was happening and we were graduating, and I said, we could keep doing this stuff if we want to because of this internet stuff happening. And so he's like, yeah, sure. And so then we just started doing it. And then now it's all this time has passed and we're still doing a weekly show. So it's not what I didn't set out to accomplish this. You know what I mean? It happened, and you look back and you're like, wow, this has happened. I can't believe it.
And that's pretty wild, right? Like, because so for our young viewers out there, you guys don't understand life when the internet was just starting. This is during it was America Online, dial up, somebody get on the phone and messes up your whole connection service.
That's right. Your mom picks up the phone. You're like,
get out the phone,
everything's
Mom!
ruined.
Yeah.
I got to start over.
You had to wait a half an hour for one picture to load. I mean, these are strange times, guys. These are strange times.
It was. We started recording before there was even MP3.
See. So for you guys to be doing what you're doing and continue to keep doing it, and find joy out of it, right? That's pretty remarkable.
That's the thing. You're right.
Yeah.
You got to have fun, right? That's what it's all about, is having some fun. And nowadays, well, I mean, we had guests way back when, but not in the quantity like now. It's a little bit easier to do all this, and so I get to meet people like yourself and other people from all over the place, and so it's kind of it's coming to its own, all this podcasting business, and so it's really quite fun to have grown up with it and watched everything happen over the years. So.
And it's kind of crazy because you said you and Miles, right, started in college radio, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how did that shape the way y'all do podcasts, or did it?
No, totally. Yeah. So the whole idea was, well, actually the fun thing was college radio is actually more restrictive. So you would think it wouldn't be, but it was because at the time, and it's not as relevant now, but at the time, I mean, we were goofing around, and there were people who were like, I'm going into the radio business. And we got you two idiots out here doing stupid stuff. And so it was kind of fun. And my goal was not to be in the radio business, but a lot of people that I worked with at the radio station, that was going to be their life. And I don't think it's worked out too well for radio right now, but
Yeah.
in general. But the for us, we had fun and we did some things, but you had to. It was a music format, and so you had to play music and stuff. But in between songs, then we would have a little bit of time where we could kind of goof around and do comedy stuff and whatnot. And so that's why we were doing it. But you
Mhm.
had to play songs where once we got onto the internet, everything flipped because that was the days of Napster and you get sued.
Yep.
Grandmas were getting sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars because their grandkids downloaded
Yep.
a song. And
Yep.
so I'm like, well, I don't, let's just do the fun stuff and forget about the music. And so it kind of flipped the script on things. And so we just told funny stories, is what we still do today. Now we have a little bit longer. I mean, you can talk as long as you want now, but back then, I mean, 15 minutes was like an eternity in file size and all that kind of stuff. So we kept ourselves to 15 minutes, no YouTube, none of that kind of business going on back then. And so it was really a novelty to have audio on the internet back then. I mean, there was, but it wasn't like it is now. I mean, it's crazy now. It's just everywhere.
It got so strange, like, in a good way, right? So
Oh, yeah.
how
No, it's all
yeah,
good.
yeah. It just
Yeah, but it's
different.
just, who would have thought whenever
Yeah.
we were messing around, it's like, you know, for years, even whenever there became the word podcast, because we started before there was podcasts, right?
Mhm.
And so, whenever podcast became a thing, right, back in 2004, you didn't tell anybody you had a podcast. You
Yep.
would be ostracized. You'd
Yeah, laughed out.
be like,
Yep.
"What are you?" First of all, they go, "What are you talking about?" And then if they knew what you were talking about, they go, "Oh, you're one of those." You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so you never talked about it, and so then now, you come 20 years, 20 plus years later, and it's like, if you don't have a podcast, everybody's like, well, what's wrong with you? You know
You
what I mean? It's
yeah,
like,
you're late. A crazy thing is we actually like, I had a podcast originally. Well, my friend, who I work with, when we was in Okinawa, right? In the military, and whatnot, and his name is Tim Jordan, love him to death. He had your voice, your charisma, like, he sounded like a radio host, and I was like, "Man, you sound such like a radio host. We really need to do a podcast, dude. Like, I would love to get you on the radio. We could call it the Tim Jordan Radio Show." And I was talking about it for so long, right, and for so many weeks, right, and it just got to the point where he's like, "Man, you say that you do this, but, will you actually do it? I'm down
uh-huh,
if you down." And then so other people that was in the office was like, "Yeah, man, you say you can do it," because I guess they didn't believe that I knew about mics, I know how to set everything up, and I was like, "Man, no problem." So I ordered all the stuff, got everything, and went. Then next week, I had all the mics set up for everyone. I said, "Hey, we're gonna do this on off time, of course." I
uh-huh.
said, "Okay." It was like, "Okay." I'm like, "Hey, man, we're gonna need a format." So Tim was, the overall host. I was like the sound technician guy. We had another guy who was really good, and he loves real estate and also stocks. So he was
Oh,
a
okay.
stock guy, right? And then we had another guy, Sutterby. He was a young cat, loved a big geek nerd. He called himself that, and he was like, "I do tech talk." So
Oh, okay.
like, okay, cool. He's doing tech talk. So we kind of like set our lanes, and we did it for a good, I want to say like 20 episodes. And before things, because we all in the military at that time, it kind of like, we all one person got orders here and I gotta
Right.
go.
You're out of here.
Yeah, so I mean, we had a good little run where we had almost 1,000 subscribers. I think probably
Wow,
over, a
that's
little over
great.
1,000 subscribers. Yeah, it caught on because at that time, I think Podbean just came on, and so we was using Podbean, and we did a little promotion with Podbean, and it caught fire. But then shortly after we did that, that's when we had to like. So I was like, I really enjoyed the whole thing about podcasting and just stuff like that. And for you doing it for so long, it's probably, to me, it's like it's simply amazing. I will say,
Yeah.
like, with your podcast though, what has um what has changed culturally and technically since, you guys started that you don't particularly like?
I don't know that I don't it's not that I don't like any of it. I
Yeah.
mean, I think technically everything's changed. I mean, everything's changed since then. And I mean, we're on Riverside. I was just on the other one for a little while there looking at it. And there's all these different services and all these different, ways to connect now that were never, I mean, that wasn't even imagined back in the start. Our first thing when we started recording, bought it was at Radio Shack. You could buy a device that you'd hook to your phone, and then it had a feed that went into a tape recorder. And I bought it and we tested it, right? It was like a suction cup thing that you put on the phone. It's so ridiculous. It was like a microphone that suction cup to the phone on the receiver,
Mhm.
like a regular old style phone. And then fed it, and then we tried it and it sounded so terrible that I'm like, we're not doing this. This is crap. I think I spent like, I don't know, $30 or something on it. Anyway, so then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this. And so I had the computer, and then I had this microphone that was kind of flat, right? It actually was designed to sit on top of your monitor, kind of like your webcam would do later, right?
Mhm.
And so then I got a speakerphone, and I took that microphone and I set it on the speakerphone, and then I recorded onto the computer. And I just was in the room talking, and then Miles was on the phone. I just called him up like a regular phone call.
Mhm.
And then he was on the speakerphone, so the microphone would pick him up and me up at the same time.
Mm.
And then it would just digitally record it on the computer. It worked fantastic. And you can actually, if you go to the website, you can listen to the first show and everything. It doesn't sound as good as
Yeah.
now, but
Yeah.
at the time it was much better than the stupid Radio Shack
Yeah.
thing. And so we did that for years, for probably about 5 or 6 years. That was the recording. That was a method of recording.
Yeah.
And then Skype came along, and I rigged up a way to record. I could call him on a regular phone via Skype and then record the Skype call. And so that's what we upgraded to for a long time. And then that was probably, I mean, Skype's gone now,
Yeah.
but we probably did that for a good 5 or 6 years or more.
Mm.
And then now other tools came along, and we're all digital and so
Mhm.
forth. And so then we started doing that. So it's really, I mean, kind of leaps and bounds, but for the longest time, yeah, it was just like a microphone off your computer onto a speakerphone, which just sounds ridiculous, but it worked much better than anything else. And then, you just go along, and I'm kind of the two of us.
Yeah.
I'm the technology person, so I'm a tech geek guy, and he doesn't really like any of that or really get into it. And so yeah, I'm always experimenting with things. That's why you have the cat talking to you
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And because I love to just fiddle around with things and see if I can, I just get an idea and I'm like, hey, I wonder if we could do this, and then I mess around with it until it works. And so yeah, so all the I'll take credit. All the advancements for our show happened because of me.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, you told Miles, like, "Hey, man, we can continue to go with this." What made him believe in trusting you to do that,
I
especially
have
after all these years?
he still doesn't trust me or believe in me. And every once in a while we'll be talking and he's like, why am I doing this? And then, and then he'll be back the next week. And so I think the only thing I can think of, I mean, you have to ask him, but
Yeah.
for sure. But the only thing I can think of is it's something to do that doesn't really, you're not costing yourself too much, and you're not hurting yourself by doing it, and we just have fun. I mean, that's the other thing, is we have a lot of fun, and so each week it becomes like a challenge to kind of do something different and try to try to make each other laugh. That's kind of part of the point. I mean, we want the audience to laugh, but the reality is that it's just the two of us there when we record, and so we really try to make each other laugh. And so, yeah, over the years, it's just been kind of this competition to see what we can say, to make the other person lose it. And so there's some of that aspect of it too. And that never really gets old, I don't think, especially when you've known each other for a long time. It's just, you
Yeah,
would probably, I would do this whether we recorded it or not.
yeah.
It wouldn't be it wouldn't change anything, you
Yeah,
know?
so how did y'all get to format of improv? You know, just like unscripted, because usually sometimes people have like even me, I have like a like like somewhat of a script, right? So I can go off. Of course, I want to be authentic and sound authentic, but for you guys are literally unscripted comedy at all times, which is kind of
Yeah.
difficult to do, because it's like people are expecting you to be funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the hard part. Yeah,
Yeah,
I tell them, "Don't expect it to be funny, just wait and it will be, hopefully."
yeah.
No, but the thing is that so he and I met in college, and we met in, a film class we took together. It just happenstance, didn't know him from anybody. We happened to sit near each other, and we kinda just hit it off, and we both have a personality that's kinda jokey and
Uh,
so forth, and so, I mean, we would do this whether anybody was listening or not. And so we had already been doing this for in college constantly. And then I said, the weird thing is I didn't want to do a show with him on college radio. I had an idea to do a call-in game show on college radio. And I talked to the
huh.
radio station. I said, I want to do this call-in game show. And
Mm.
the guy was like, that's not going to work.
Why?
So I go, "Why not?" He goes, "We have one phone line, so you can't have more than one person on a time." Because I wanted to have, like, multiple people and ask them questions,
Mm.
and so I'm like, "Well, shoot." He goes, "Well," he's like, "You could still come do something." And he was quite, very nice about it and encouraging, and so then I ended up being, the promotions director for 2 years at the radio station. So I was promoting everything else that was on the radio station. And Miles was my friend, and I had an office. And so he would come by and hang out in my office
Okay.
because it was in a central part of campus. And
Uh-huh.
so in between classes, he'd just come hang out. And we were doing our sticky stuff. And it just so happened, like, well, let's just do a show. And he goes, "Okay." And so then we just started doing shows and kind of batting things around in between songs, and it took off from there, and we just enjoyed doing it. And like I said, that's where it kind of launched into doing online after we graduated because we don't live near each other. So
Oh, wow.
he lives in the Midwest, but he doesn't live anywhere near me. And so everything's been at a distance
Mm.
all these years. Yeah, but yeah, it basically from hanging out. Because I had an office. I mean, how many students have an office? And I
That
just
is
lucked
true.
out because so and it was a cool, it was a student-run radio station, so it was all crazy, and people were doing crazy stuff all the time, and, it was, I don't know what you'd say. There were people there who wanted to learn, but there was,
Wanted to play.
obviously it's college, so there's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
element of being at college, and
Yeah,
so stuff would just happen.
yeah. So,
And
okay,
when you
so
put a bunch of college students in and you give
yeah.
them offices, I mean, you're just asking for trouble.
So, yeah, yeah, so y'all had so basically y'all had a stepbrother moment. It was like, "Are we best friends?"
Yeah, so yeah, we just got along and it all just kinda happened, and so, yeah, I mean, I've always been I guess, I mean, I've always been somebody who likes to do things, you know what I mean? So I always wanna try things and do things,
Yeah.
and so and the radio, I mean, I wasn't gonna be a radio person when I graduated, and so I thought, "Well, this would be fun to do." So I did it for 2 years because it was so enjoyable, and then I love giving away stuff. I think that
Mm.
was being the promotions person, you do remotes and you give away stuff, and it's a real fun position to be in because I give away concert tickets, you give away records and CDs at the time, and, and merchandise, and people send you stuff for free. I mean, what's not to like? And you can pick and choose what you wanna keep, and then you give the rest away, so,
Very true.
yeah, it was
Can you do
great.
that nowadays though? Like with the with the adverse of the technology we got right now, right? Like to do, because I was thinking about that game show, like you said, a call-in game show. Is that something you think that will be viable in this day and age?
Yeah, I think well, there's been a couple I can't remember the name of it now, but there's been several attempts to do larger scale online game shows, and some of them have been successful, and I just heard about a new one that's coming out that has some money behind it and so forth. And yeah, I think so. I think that it just has, everything has to kind of click, right? So,
Mm,
I mean, but I think that the idea of doing it is still viable. It's just, can you grow the audience? Can you, reach enough people? But, there's always the thing about game shows that I've always found fascinating is that, they're really just promotional things for companies because you're like, right, if you watch any old game shows, Rice-A-Roni, right? Rice-A-Roni, they give everybody who loses gets Rice-A-Roni.
Cerrone.
It's a big commercial for Rice-A-Roni, and so there's always this element of, advertising, and so that's all a game
Mm,
show is kind of advertising wrapped in fun, and so, it's like, almost can't miss. The hard part nowadays is just getting the formula that's gonna click with people, you know what I
yeah,
mean? So, that's a little tough, and then the fact that everybody's kinda so disparate, right? So, we're all online
yeah.
and doing stuff like this, so that makes it a little harder, so you can't have people, competing against each other, in real life so much. I mean, you could, but it's harder to do that, so you have to kinda find something. A lot of stuff, like, for instance, tomorrow night, I'm gonna be in a trivia contest online, so, I mean, it could be something like that, so
Wow.
who knows?
Okay. Well, I hope you win. I hope you win. I hope you win.
Yeah, I
Are
have
you
no idea how it's gonna go. I've never done one of these before, and I got a thing, and I'm like, "Well, I think that'll be fun." I love to do trivia, and so I thought, "Well, this'll be fun."
what's your category that you like about trivia a lot?
So I'm very good, well, I think. If you ask somebody, you ask my wife or something, she'll be like, "He's an idiot." I like the television and movies.
Okay.
I'm very much into media. I actually have a film degree, believe it or not. I don't use it, totally. Miles and I went to film school together.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, I still keep up with things as far as that goes, but I don't necessarily use it in my daily life, but I'm still, interested.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. That is freaking awesome. What's the most memorable feedback you gotten from your listeners over the years that really means a lot to you?
I don't know, memorable?
Yeah. Good or bad or indifferent. Yeah.
That's interesting question. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the interesting thing, at least nowadays, is like you reacted well to my cat character here, but some people get mad at me when I show up as the cat,
For real?
and literally will like in essence hang up on me. Um, yeah, and so that's kind of interesting. You know, I I have the character because I always just wanted to be the voice, right? So
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
longest time, I was just the voice. And now in this, since 2020, you kind of got to have
A shtick.
a visual,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And my visual is I don't want my visual is no good. So this
Yeah.
is a good visual. So
So to be honest, once you showed up with the cat, I wanted to lose it because I wanted to die laughing. I don't know if you saw me. I was like this. I saw it and I just kind of looked away. I was like, I was holding it in. So I was like, be professional, Michael. Be professional. Be professional. This is comedic
no,
gold.
it's
I'm like, this
okay.
is hilarious. He said he was doing comedy improv. I said, oh my God, that is freaking funny. So I thought it was like, like, yeah. So, but that's crazy that people actually get upset about that,
Oh
man.
yeah, I was I can't remember the name of the show, but I was going to do another show. Maybe they had some, I don't know. Anyway, it was a lady. I got on, I was talking to her, we were having a nice little conversation before we got started,
Yeah.
and then this guy pops in, I guess it's, her producer or something. Anyway, he goes, "Oh, we're not doing this," and he just cuts me off,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "What?" And so, yeah, it's weird. And then another
Yeah.
time, got on a show, and I did the show. We had fun. I told some stories. They said, "Hey, can you do another, you know, 20 minutes or whatever?" I go, "Yeah, sure. We'll do another one." Right. So like a whole nother show. I did the whole other show. It went well. Everybody's laughing and having a good time. And like, a few days later, they write me back, "Oh, we can't use any of that."
Did they say
So
why?
they just deleted it, I guess. I don't know. They never released it. They said, "Oh, we can't use that." I'm like,
What's because of
"But
some
they
legal
all were
precedent
there
or
and we all were
something?
laughing."
Is it some legal precedents, because of your, animation or
No.
something like that, or
No, they just, "Oh, I don't think our audience would like it." I'm like, "Well, you guys liked it. I mean, who's your audience? Goodness."
yeah, like, geez
I'm
Louise.
like, "Whatever." I mean, those are the negative ones, but
Yeah,
I don't really worry that much about it. I mean, I have fun as long as, I'm still having fun. It's not like this is life or death, or
yeah,
is gonna be, if I don't make this, situation happen, something bad's gonna be come down or something. I'm just out here doing stuff and having fun.
yeah, fun doing
And,
it, and
if it doesn't work out for them, that's their loss. I'm like, there's, believe it or not, and you brought up the, how long I've been doing this and everything. Sometimes it's, blatant ageism, but because, they're like, "Well, we don't wanna talk to you. You're too old." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm
well,
like,
yeah,
it's I'm like, What's that got to do with it?" I'm not gonna sit here and go, "Back in my
right,
day, I remember." It's like it's your show. You lead me, and
yeah,
then I'm gonna throw in, what I can to it, and hopefully we'll have fun and it'll all be good. I'm not gonna preach at you, or, be your dad or something, for Christ's sake. I don't
yeah,
know who you are.
yeah,
And so, yeah, so some people just outright will not don't want to talk because I'm not in a certain age bracket.
mm,
So, and I think the cat helps that, because, if you wouldn't say anything about it, no one would know what age I am. I'm just an adult. I'm not a kid. Who knows, right?
yeah.
My voice doesn't sound, ancient or anything. You know, uh, so it's like, why, I don't understand the logic. And these are people who are supposed to, a lot of times I shoot for things that are like your show. It's unscripted or something,
Mhm,
or it's has some kind of comedic element to it. And I'm like, this is all, I'm doing the same thing you're doing. You know what
yeah.
I mean? It's just,
It's just a little different here and there, yeah, of course,
yeah, I mean, it's all good, right?
yeah,
So, but I'd say the funny thing is, one of the best things that I can remember critique-wise was a long time ago, and this would be well before even the word podcasting, and we got put onto a kind of a list, right? So back in the day, it just make, because there wasn't a lot of things out there, they just people would make these lists, like, of things to listen to online and so forth. We were
right.
on this list, and the caption said, "Not as god awful as other things." And that was my favorite one.
Not as god awful as
Right,
other
and not
things.
as god awful as these other ones. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, well, that's a positive,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
a step
weird
up.
positive backhanded compliment." I mean, there was only, like, on the whole list, it was probably only about 12 things. So I'm
Yeah,
like, "Wow, we're not
and
as god awful as these other 11 things."
yeah, we made the list.
That's right, we made the list.
Yeah, you actually
And they're all
mentioned it.
terrible.
Your content, what y'all talk about, what I'm saying, like, the high stranginess stuff, like, now and then, it's like and the weird things, right? Y'all mostly, like, infatuate over when y'all talking, Has any of that turned out to be true?
Sure.
Yeah.
My gosh, yeah. So I've had some really weird experiences I've talked about on the show that are, that happened to me. So they're true to me for
Me yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And yeah, so one of the big things is, have you ever heard of the concept of shadow people? So they
Yes and no.
basically, you see a shadow that moves. There's not a person there,
Yeah.
and it's like the only thing that's there is a shadow, but it's shaped like a person and it's moving around.
Mhm.
I saw a shadow person, like, in myself, right? And so the wilder part about it is I wasn't the only one. So real quick, the story is, well, this is always the sad part, but my house burnt down about 6 years ago. And we had to basically we rented a house while our house was getting dealt with, right? And being rebuilt and so forth. And so we moved in there with nothing because everything got destroyed. But we were in there, and on one of the, like, with the first week we were there, I always tell my wife is amazing because basically we moved in on the house one day, and that afternoon, Amazon brought bed frames and bed and mattresses so we'd have some place to sleep that afternoon, and I put them together. And so we had some furniture because we had nothing. But anyway, so I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw this shadow, but I thought, I mean, I'm really groggy and, it's been a bad time, right?
Mhm.
So it was by the window, and we were in this neighborhood that was like a regular neighborhood. It wasn't like a bunch of rentals. We happened to be renting a house in the middle of like a cul-de-sac, right? So like all these other houses were there. And so I had met the neighbor earlier in the day. He was kind of a car salesman-y kind of guy.
Mhm.
Hey, how you doing? What's up? Oh, terrible, your house burnt down. Wow, your house. Yeah, it was really terrible. And then, so anyway, he just was kind of, like that. And I wake up and we don't really have curtains. We just have the blinds that are in the house. And I see this figure, and I thought it was the weird neighbor standing outside trying to look in the window, right? But it wasn't. And so I'm like, I'm just exhausted, emotionally exhausted and physically exhausted from all this. And I go back to sleep. Then in the morning, my son, uh, was living with us, and he was a teenager at the time. And we had gotten him an iPad or something right off the bat to give him something to do, right?
Mhm.
And we had internet installed that first day and everything. And so he was up late, like teenagers are. And he comes to me the next day and he says, "Dad, a shadow came through my door and tried to grab my leg." And so he saw it and he was all freaked out, right? So then, being a dad, and now I'm like, wait a minute. In the night, I saw this, right? But I'm like, there's no place for us to go.
Yeah.
I mean, our house is gone. We're here. We just got here, right? Like, a few days ago or whatever. And we can't move someplace. I can't go to the insurance company and say, well, this house has got weird things happen and we're not staying here.
Yeah.
They're not going to pay for something else.
Yeah.
And so I kind of pushed it off. And so I said, "Oh, I'm sure it was nothing. You're just tired. We've had a really bad time." And, but then I didn't see it ever again, but he saw it at least 2 or 3 more times in the house, just walking around the house. Like he would walk out from his room and like head to the kitchen, and it would be like this thing would move across like a person walking, but it's just a shadow. So that's weird.
Hey, I was thinking I would've
Yeah,
hey,
well, and then I had
credit.
to basically maintain, being I was kind of a jerk, honestly, but lying and saying I didn't. And then when we finally got back home after about a year,
Yeah.
I finally admitted, to everybody, I'm like, "Yeah, I saw that thing too." So
And
you
you're like,
weren't.
"I knew it."
Yeah, he was mad at me, but I I couldn't. I mean, it's like, if you're in a weird situation, it's like you kind of have to, buck up and, yeah, well, you said you're in the military, for Christ's
Yeah,
sake,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know exactly what I'm talking about. When everything starts happening, you just like, I know what I got to do, and this is what I got to do, and even if it feels weird, that's what I got to do, right?
Yeah, yeah, just lie through the process.
That's right. You gotta get through. So that's what I did.
Yo, that's funny. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that's a real weird happenstance that was tangible, right? I mean, there was no, there was it happened. I mean, I saw it. I had somebody else the same time see it, and then, so it wasn't like I imagined it or anything, and then or, a dream or something.
Yeah.
No, it was tangible, and then yeah, and there's other weird things that happened in that house, that so the it the house was empty, and they had a basement, but it wasn't a finished basement, it was just concrete basement, and we'd hear stuff down there, but there was literally nothing in the basement but, like, the heater and the hot water heater, and then you'd hear, like, noises down there, like somebody's messing around, and then you'd go down there, and there's nothing down there, so it
Y'all
was
actually
really
went
weird.
down there after hearing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, don't do this. This is such a
Now, the so this is another weird part about it. So, when we moved in, we the only thing we stored some boxes down there, eventually as we got stuff,
yeah,
but when we went down, the lock there's a lock on the door. There's a lock so you couldn't come up from the basement. The lock was switched. Like, normally, the lock would be on the inside, so you'd lock people from getting into the basement. No,
yeah.
they switched the handle, so the lock was so you couldn't come up from the basement. That's weird. And then they had a bell hanging from the, rafter, 'cause it was totally unfinished. So when you open that door, it rang a bell.
Yeah, Bob. I'm just letting you know there was some what we call nowadays some red flags
Yeah.
happening
Well, I
right there.
didn't think anything of it until after this, and then I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe that's why."
Oh my goodness, you and you're like,
You
"Hey,
know? I'm like, "Well,
unsolved
that's
mysteries."
weird." I never switched it back, and I didn't remove the bell because 'cause I'm like, "Well, maybe there's something to maybe this door."
Yo.
I was thinking along the lines of maybe this door is, janky and it pops open or something, and, I don't know, but your mind's I mean, I was worried about a lot of other things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not that this door is like, a rift
Right.
between interdimensional,
Right,
forces.
exactly, and I wasn't even thinking about that until later,
I can
until a
just
few days
imagine
later.
this one unsolved mysteries.
But I love so I'm not like a big, what do you wanna call it? I'm not like a person that totally believes all this stuff, right? So that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
not my
got you.
position going into this. I mean, this happened, and then now I'm like, "Well, hey, maybe, maybe there is." I've always been, what do you wanna say? I'm not skeptical, but I'm not overly accepting,
Yeah,
But
you're
at this point
pragmatic in
now, I
your
mean,
your view.
my thought process is, I mean, anything could happen. If you say there's no way to prove it, there's no way to disprove it,
Prove
and
it,
then
yeah.
I'm in the realm that anything can happen, and it's just a matter of if you happen to be there.
Yep. No, 100%. Like, I remember when I first seen a lightning ball.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never
I
seen one,
seen
but
I have seen one, and that was the strangest thing in the world. I thought life was like aliens was coming down, and then I researched it, and it's like, that's it's a phenomenon, an occurrence that happens, like, 1 out of, like, cajillion times, and I was like, "I seen a freaking lightning ball." Like,
yeah.
the weirdest thing in the world.
It's gotta be, I mean, I haven't experienced that, but it's just gotta be one of those things where you're like, Am I seeing this? Is this really
Yeah,
happening?"
100%, 100%. I
And
ran like the dickens.
yeah. And why is this happening to me?
Yeah, I see it, and I ain't stay for it. I ain't be like, "Wow, let me go
Yeah.
touch it and get some Marvel superpowers from this." I was
But
like, I was done. I was done.
the world's a wild place, and I think we're, in hindsight, I mean, I'm glad that I moved home and I don't still see this thing, but
Yeah,
in hindsight, I mean, I'm always like, well, it's just happenstance. It would just happen to happen while I was looking and while my son was looking, and we just lucked out. I
yeah,
mean, in a way, nothing bad ever happened. It's just was weird
yeah,
and uncomfortable at times. But it's just one of those things. It's just like you saw a lightning ball, and I'm sure it was freaky, but it didn't come and shock you or anything, so you're
I
okay.
ran. I didn't even I saw something that looked like I'm like, "This is lightning, why is it doing this?" And it's like moving very, very slow, and I was like,
Mhm.
and I just ran, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's wild, though. I love that kinda stuff, though.
yeah,
But I always have. I always loved watching the weird shows and reading about this kinda stuff. Not that, like I said, I don't buy all of it all the time, but,
mhm,
now once you have stuff happen to you, then your perspective shifts a little bit. At least for me, it's like, Well, maybe. I'm not gonna discount anything. I mean, you know, some I always I always laugh at I love to watch these ghost shows, but some of them I just can't stand because everybody's getting touched all the time, and I'm like, "It just cannot happen that much," you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
But, I mean, it's not that things don't happen, but it's like they're going for ratings, right? They gotta
yeah,
get the ratings, so
yeah, they got that
they're
right.
always getting scratched or touched or what have you, but I do believe there's something to it.
Mhm.
It's just sometimes I think, I'm a little more skeptical because it just seems to be a little convenient, and I'm not there, so who knows? But, I don't discount it totally, but you have to be, you have to it's just like anything else. You have to take everything with a grain of salt and see what you can figure out on your own to see what's going on. But yeah, High Strangeness is one of those things that I just love to read about and been lucky enough to have some weird experiences
This is talk about it, yeah, that's really cool.
and yeah, and yeah, exactly, and not be I'm not one to shy away from some people would be like, "I'm never gonna talk about that," but,
Yeah,
that's not me. I'm like, "I know, if you think I'm wacky or something, that's fine, I don't care." It's I'm just telling you what I've experienced, and so, you know
yeah, I got you, I got you. Bob, I wanna say thank you for being on the show. If it's anything that you wanna tell the audience, floor is yours, sir.
So, well, if you feel like listening to some funny stories, you can always swing by staticradio.com and at Static Radio on the socials. But, no pressure. Who knows what we'll talk about?
He says that, but honestly, his show is a hoot, as you said, like, he showed up with the cat. This is funny. This is humor, guys. So if you guys are sticks in the mud, I'm sorry. You just it's just not your flavor, but 100%. Please go check out his show, everything that he's doing, that he's being a part of, man, because it's comedic gold.
Thanks. I love that.
No?
I'm going to put that as a quote.
Yes, please do, please do, please
Well,
do.
thank you for having me. It's been great fun and much success to you and future endeavors. And
Thank
I
you.
mean, thank you for, you were in the military. So, hey, thanks for that for sure.
Oh,
You
appreciate you,
know?
appreciate you,
Everybody doesn't everybody I couldn't do it, I can tell you right now. I would have been right out. They
Yeah,
would have been
hey,
like, "I don't know what you're here doing here because you don't
I
belong."
I was gonna get out the first 4 years, and then I ended up staying because, I didn't have any prospects and then made a
Yeah.
career out of it, so
Well, that's it.
100%.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
it worked out then, right? So,
Yeah, it worked out, it worked out. So,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, thanks because I mean, it's hard jobs for you're doing hard jobs for not I mean, it's not a lot of pay. I mean, literally, if you were to pencil it in, you'd be like, "I'm making nothing."
Yep. The only benefit is the healthcare, and that's
Only thing they give me some clothes and some food
yep, and some healthcare,
and
and
maybe
that's
a
about it.
place to sleep, that's
Yep.
it.
That's literally it. That's literally it. Well, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not on the wrong page on that, so
Yeah, everybody, because well, people aren't, they don't get clued in. It's like, "Oh, man, that guy's got it made." It's like, "What are you talking about?"
yeah, it's like, it's one of those, okay, yeah. But alright, hey, thanks guys for being on the show. Thanks for viewing, guys. Appreciate you. This is Unfiltered Conversations. Appreciate you. Talk to you guys later.